Hello and welcome to Stylish Chats with Creatives. Today on the podcast, I've got returning guest, Debby Donnelly-Addison. She's here to chat to me about AI and its effect on creativity. Now, I know little or fuck all about AI. I've seen the odd bit and I've seen the odd bit of Photoshop and what it can do with some prompts, and it's silly prompts when it comes to somebody putting, I'm sure other people have seen this, where they've changed the model's hair to a bun and it's put a Chelsea bun on somebody's head. So without further ado, here's Debby to tell us all about it.
Hi. Well, do you know what, Charlotte? You're so lucky because I'm here today to tell you what you've got to be angry about for the next 2 to 3 weeks.
Amazing.
I'm coming in hot on this one, right? Because I've been down so many rabbit holes researching this and looking into it. I knew a bit about it from personal experience. The more I learn, the more amused and pissed off I am in equal measure. This is such a ridiculous subject, so I'm coming in really hot on this one. So you don't really know much about it other than, as you say, bits on Photoshop. I'm guessing you've probably seen like Instagram videos where people just put up little clips of like, oh yeah, I've made this into this and I've changed the sky on this picture and all that bollocks.
Yeah, I've seen that. And I've also seen there's a Netflix dating show. I don't know if you're aware of it. I can't remember the name of it. And it's basically where the couples split off into male house and a female house. And then they're kind of like led down a country path. Would these people cheat or not? And then the person, say the female, is sat on her own watching these videos, and some of them are AI and some of them are truth. And to win the pot of money at the end, they have to match up whether it's AI or not, which is incredibly scary.
I'm going to sigh so much during this. So that show, we are going to touch on that later on. Okay. Oh, dude. Okay. Right. So for you and for anyone else who's not familiar with the fresh hell that is AI, is a quick intro. So because like we as humans, we have a propensity to be lazy fucking bastards. Those lovely people at Silicon Valley have worked super duper hard to ensure that we can continue this way in every facet of our lives. And this has led to the development of programs such as ChatGPT, which I might call OpenAI during this. It's the same people, but the interface that you'll be familiar with using if you have is the ChatGPT one. Midjourney and Dolly, which between them, they can do everything from write a novel, they can create a photo or a painting from a series of simple prompts. And I'm talking so simple. I think it was Dolly. They figured that it could be operated by children with very low level verbal skills. So you do not have to be some computer genius to make this work. So AI, it learns from huge data sets of user feedback. Now, what that means is it's constantly learning and evolving based on what's being fed into it. So even these last few minutes we've been talking on the podcast, there will be, I couldn't even say how much more data it will have learned in that time because it is constantly being fed. It could be from, people like you and I asking it questions, giving it tasks. But there are people who are actually paid to feed it novels, facts, vast amounts of data, which we'll touch upon again a bit later on.
Feed it novels.
Yeah, literally. Like, it's honestly, it's like throwing books into the open mouth of a hippopotamus. People literally are paid to sit there. And I'll tell you something which pissed me right fucking off, okay? I'm going on a tangent here. Right. So, I saw this post where there was the argument about AI taking jobs away from creatives, which I know is the main reason why we're here on this podcast today. One of the responses from one of the experts in the field was that, well, people who are made redundant through this, i.e. the artists, could actually provide gainful and better paying employment by getting jobs, feeding AI, which just makes me so fucking mad. Now,
My mind's blown already, and we're what, like 3 minutes in, 5 minutes.
oh mate, you're just gonna be so pissed by the end of this. You're gonna laugh. You're gonna rage. All I've done all week is go between laughing and going oh, over and over again. There's been no in between. So the thing is, right, AI has been used in most facets of our lives for quite some time now. But there's always been this unsaid notion that creativity is less vulnerable to tech disruption. And that's because it requires soul and imagination and heart. So that's why, like, this encroachment into the arts has caused so much concern. Because, yeah, AI is used for everything now. And like I say, lots more fun facts to come about this as we go. But the thing is, it coming into the art space is a worry because it's the one place that we probably never imagined that it would. And, how far it goes into that really just depends on what we're willing to accept as art. So, we have decreasing attention spans thanks to short form video content, all these things that we're watching now. But, right, I'm going to try and compose myself. You see, so what got me started on this is there was a post that caught my eye. So some Insta twat popped up online boasting that he had reduced their copyright costs from $30,000 to just under $6 in total. And how he'd done that, I think it was for a medical business-to-business sales company. I might be making that part up, but it was definitely the sort of content where they're writing more factual stuff. They're not writing human stories. They're writing more maybe about medications, things like that.
Yeah.
And he was like super proud of the fact that he had got it down to that by using ChatGPT. So again, if you've not used it before, let me give you a very quick example. I could go in there right now and I could say, I'll dip ahead here, which I did actually do. I went on ChatGPT yesterday and I said to ChatGPT, hi, I am making a podcast on AI and its effects on the creative industries. Within maybe 30, 40 seconds, the ChatGPT had written me the equivalent of 2 A4 pages of notes, which I'm not going to lie, there were a couple things that I hadn't picked up upon. Most of it I had. It was overly verbose, like there was just too much to it, but it waffled on. But the thing that cracked me up is it gave itself the title AI assists, doesn't steal. Right? And I just thought, fucking hell, dude. So what can happen is, like with this Insta-twat that I was saying about, is you can go on there and you can ask it to generate content for you. Now, whether you view this as a threat or not, or whether you view this as something that is helpful, depends on, like, quite frankly, what your standards are of work. So, for example, a business-to-business site probably may not be too arsed as long as the key points of whatever they're selling is there.
Yeah.
They, especially a company that's already making a lot of money. If it was a smaller company where they need to create a personality, they need to create a brand, no, I would not say that the quality is good enough for that. People are using it for that, but it kind of stands out. So right now, you could argue that it's not the hugest threat unless your standards are super low, because human editing is still required. But the problem is it's the speed of which this is developing. So we have, like, for example, a lot of the big platforms, they are very quietly changing their rules on what they're willing to accept. So, Google used to penalize auto-generated content. So if they saw something that they thought, had been generated by some sort of program and not a human, it wouldn't show that high up in the search results. So they've decided to drop that. So SEO professionals, they can use AI-based content, just throw it on there, easy peasy. The reason I'm getting so frustrated about this, because it sounds like I'm talking all corporate here, but the reason I'm getting so frustrated about this is, as somebody who owns 6 businesses, I don't have somebody who can sit there day in, day out and just provide, just make auto-generated AI-based content, lashing it up online, pushing businesses like mine down the Google ranking system. It'll be the same for yourself. Anybody who's got a business that isn't using this technology, and it's a technology that, like I say, isn't particularly impressive, is currently being pushed out of the market by people who have the money to do that. And it's really fucking frustrating.
Do you think it's about financial privilege in order to get these businesses higher up in the ranking? Because people who are smaller businesses obviously don't always have that much financial support available to them to advertise how they'd like.
That's exactly it. But the frustrating thing is the message you're given, which there's going to be a lot of really conflicting messages during this, which we're going to stumble upon. The message that you're given is that, well, ChatGPT is free. It's for everybody. If you want to use some of the better programs, like there are enhanced versions of ChatGPT, you have to pay a fee for it, but it's not much. And the problem is that it's not necessarily being about financially poor, it's about time poor, which again ties in with finances. But what I'm getting at is that it's created this sort of monster of auto-generated content that is going to eat up the rankings and the algorithms on Google and all of that. And the issue that we have with that is that, sorry, I'm just waffling here, so you might have to cut that line out. Let me just go again. The reason is that I was just cancelling a call on my screen, so let me just get rid of that. So sorry. Yeah, so the issue is that people who have their own businesses or smaller businesses tend to be time poor as well as cash poor. And what we've created here is this monster where you have got businesses like with our friend on Instagram, where they can save incredible amounts of money pushing out limitless content. They can be putting dozens of articles on every day. If you are a SEO professional, so for those who aren't in the know on that, what that means is there are people out there who know how to draft articles and content in a way that get it placed on the first page of Google. And there are ways that you can do that without it being obvious. So you can like hide texts and things. There's all sorts. I mean, the old school way of doing it is you may have been on a website and at the bottom of the page, there'll be a load of random words which kind of relate to the business, but you don't understand why they're there. And that's to help push it up the rankings. So what's happening is when you've got a company with the time and the, I say the money, because like I say, this guy got it down from 30K to under 6K. Sorry, under $6.
Yeah.
Quite the saving. He got it down so much. So when you've got people who have the time to do that and they can just sit there, smash it out, throw it online, day in, day out, and they can do it in such a way that it's undetectable, it creates a imbalance in exposure and in marketing. And it's really fucking unfair. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. I mean, you've even got things like, say, Microsoft have just launched something called Copilot, right? Now, a lot of writers, they use a program called Grammarly. And with Grammarly, it corrects your grammar. It corrects your grammar, it corrects your spelling. It's like spell check, but on steroids. And a lot of writers use it. What Copilot does is Copilot does a lot of what ChatGPT does. It can write proposals for you. It can summarize your documents. They're the bits that they advertise that it can do, but the reality of the matter is it can pretty much do what the other programs are doing. So you could go into Word and say, I've got to write 3,000 words on, I don't know, I don't know. Anyway, any subject you want to do. My brain's just totally fried after looking into this. Oh, geez. You could put in anything at all and you can ask it to do and it will write for you. So what that again is doing is that, for example, for Copilot, you do have to have a business account with Microsoft. Not too expensive, but again, if you are a freelancer, if you are a small business, a small independent, you are probably not going to be paying X amount per year for a Microsoft business account. So again, it is providing an advantage to the people who have that, and it's making their work faster, it's making it quicker, it means they can do more, it means they can beat you down even quicker than they were before the technological advances allowed them to do that. Do you know what? We're not even through the fucking intro, and I'm already feeling so.
I'm already like starting to write things down and be like, oh yeah, that's a point, because it's so interesting but scary at the same time.
Fucking depressing, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's really, I mean, don't get me wrong, by the way, I will be pointing out some of the funnier parts of this. But you see, the problem that we have with this, the big concern, right, before we get deep into it, the big concern is that inadequate governance of AI, it's going to push out the need for human creativity. So human-based art, it's just going to be drowned out by a tsunami of algorithmically generated content. And if that happens, how the hell are we ever going to create new ideas? You know, copyright laws, they're not keeping up with AI progress. It takes away the human incentive to create art. And that is the concern.
I think I've just noted down here with your mention of human creativity, it was funny that in the pandemic, or to harp back to that nearly fucking 4 years ago, but everybody went, oh, well, I've got time to paint and I've got time to decorate my house and I've got time to do all this and create things. And I think what we forgot is that creativity is part of being human, and actually you need it to feel, even if your creativity is that you're, I don't know, like building a desk or you're creating a new like making a sign for yourself or something like that.
Yeah.
I think it's an integral part of being human is creativity, to kind of, without reusing the word create, but like to create something new and push boundaries and explore what we have at our fingertips. And I think it gets forgotten when you go back to your daily grind, and then there's a handful of us creatives who are still doing it day to day. And even then, to a certain extent, my job's creative, but there's other parts of my creative brain that aren't ticked and tickled by my creative work, because I like to stitch and I like to do lots of different other things. But I feel like AI is just going to squish us, and I'm actually struggling to differentiate what's AI and what's not. And I'm like only mid-30s, so I can't imagine what my mum, my dad, my grandparents who are looking at it and going like, oh, look at the Pope in a puffer jacket holding a Starbucks, which was complete bollocks.
Yeah.
But I could see it was AI generated. But could somebody who's more ill-informed just believe it's true, you know? That's
the concern. And it's like I say, where's that incentive to go out and do something yourself?
Yeah.
If it's taken away. Because, so funnily enough, so I was thinking, if we're going to deep dive into it, then so starting with content creators, which is very similar to what we were just saying, in the sense of we're talking people who are, you know, they're not necessarily going out and making a large scale painting or anything like that. I'm talking people making sort of instant content, so Instagram, TikTok, all that jazz. There's probably other apps that I don't know about because I'm 40 now, but you know what I mean. So what's particularly sad about it is, like you said about the pandemic and beyond that, is that we are currently, for the first time in forever, we're in a position where people can actually make a living through human creativity via platforms, like I say, like Insta. Instagram's been very kind to me. You know, you might be rolling your eyes. There's some out there going, oh, fucking hell, you know, I'm sick of TikTok videos and things like that. But, you know, you can't deny that these platforms, they do provide a means to present artistic expression, and it lets people make a living from it. And you might not agree with the thing is, depending on what your consideration of art is, you might say like, oh, that's bollocks or whatever. But there are all these different strings that come off it. You've got Book Talk, where you've got people who are able to actively promote, talk about, discuss books on a scale that we just haven't seen before. You've got people who are painting. There's quite a few people I follow on Instagram who paint. And to be fair, I would not have heard of them had it not been for social media. And these people are making money via Patreon, different ways of bringing in an income, which it would have been nothing but a hobby. And that is fantastic. That is something that we didn't have before. You couldn't have done that 10 years ago. The thing is, though, generative AI, it's just a new field for Silicon Valley's long exploitation of content providers. And even though creators, people who are making stuff online, are totally used to platforms moving the goalposts, this is just like something else. It's heartbreaking.
It's like the rug's been whipped from under their feet almost, isn't it?
Yeah. You thought you knew where you were. It's like, I'm going to be totally honest here, and this is something that I've not really discussed with anybody. So, as you may know, or may have noticed in that, I have really, really pulled back on the number of recipes I'm doing, the number of shoots I'm doing, everything else, because to be honest with you, I'm blum and worn out. I've not had the best year. But the other thing as well that is a part of it, not all of it, but is a part of it, is I'm going online and I'm consistently seeing, particularly on pages that share recipes and share food-based content, I'm seeing a lot of images that are AI produced. Now, if you are a photographer, you will notice this immediately, right? Yeah. There are times when I have seen things where it's taken me a few seconds to realise that something feels off. Video content is a lot easier to identify because I generally find that the speeds never match up. So, for example, I remember seeing one where it was like a cup of coffee in front of a window and it was raining outside, and the mood that you got from it was really beautiful and lovely, but the steam coming off the coffee was at the same speed as the rain falling, so I knew that it wasn't real. But what I'm getting at here is that you look at stuff like that and you think, where is the incentive for me to spend all day recipe testing and then the next day making and photographing and writing up, when somebody can go on Dolly or one of the other programs and say, please produce a picture of, and type in what they want and it will create it for them within seconds.
Yeah.
And you can even ask it to write a recipe to go with it. Like, that's how fucking ridiculous it is. Now, don't get me wrong. When I say write a recipe, the technology does not understand cooking. It doesn't understand how it works. What it is most likely doing is plagiarizing a recipe from elsewhere. But if you're the type of person who uses AI to make your food content, you probably do not give a flying fuck about it being somebody else's work, because that's probably the type of person that you are. Yes, I sound salty. That's because I am. But that's what it does. It takes away that incentive to work. The same goes for travel. Like, oh my God, data mining posts. Jesus fucking Christ. I am sick and tired of seeing pictures of AI generated interiors.
Oh my God. Sorry to interrupt you. I saw one that was like it looked like a kitchen based in an old kind of cathedral, and it was all like kind of wintry and kind of witchy. Yep. And somebody I know shared it and I was like, that's fucking AI. That's not real. It's AI. And you've just literally, I can see it in my eyes now. I can see that image and it's like, it's a beautiful image, but it's not
real.
Yeah.
And what a lot of them do is they do it and they claim that it's a competition to win a stay at the place that's there, even though it's fake. And like my favourite one was, there was one where it was meant to be a little house on a loch in Scotland, right? And it's this little teeny tiny house. And to be fair, looking at the exterior image looked exceptionally real. I would not have been put off had I not seen the interior photos. And then when I saw the interior pictures, unless it was a TARDIS, it was like, fuck off. no, that does not fit in there. And also, no house on the banks of any loch in Scotland has vaulted ceilings. Like, fuck off. Fuck right off. But what they do is they put up these competitions and they get people to like it, and then it pulls loads of people to the pages. And then what they do is they sell those pages to other people, so they can then buy a page preloaded with a couple of 100,000 followers and a really good engagement rate.
Yeah.
And it's this sort of like underground business where people are making good money from it, but it's done in quite a sneaky and, nefarious way.
Mm.
And like, overall, these sort of images and stuff, like I say, it devalues human artistic skill.
Yeah.
It erodes that market for original and human-made artwork. So let's be real now. I could, if I was an arsehole, I could go on now and I could ask one of these programs to write me a dozen recipes and provide generated images to go with them. And I could submit that to one of my editors and say, here's my next 3 months worth of columns. And to be honest, I will probably get away with it because my editors are a bit older and they are publishing houses that probably, I imagine, do not use any sort of software to check for AI generated content. So they will probably have no idea. And you think, fucking hell, it's horrible, because you kind of think to yourself, like, I could do that and my life would be easier, but it would have zero integrity. It would have no originality. And yet, without naming any names, I know that there are people out there doing that. Yeah. And it really, as someone whose career is based around that sort of thing, it really pisses me off.
It ties into when you said in the intro about humans being imperatively lazy, maybe imperatively is the wrong word, but some people just want to earn money and not really think about how they're earning money, how their actions are rippling out and affecting others within their industry.
Yeah. And there are people who, because I've been researching this for like a few weeks now, a lot of my feed posts on Instagram are to do with this. And there are people who are actively boasting about how you can use this to make money and not have to put the work in. Yeah. And they're quite like, pay me $25 and I'll tell you my secrets. I know your secrets. I know what you do. you just go and fucking chat GPT and get to do all the work for you, you lazy cunt. Like, that is literally it. There's nothing more to it. But it's funny actually, because it was, let me just find my numbers. So it's 31 to 40-year-olds who are using it most at the minute. And it's probably because they're knackered and fed up. Yeah. Like, the minute I saw that stat, I thought, yeah, that's the generation of people who have just fucking given up. We're all having our existential crises and we don't want to have to do any real work. And then it said 51 to 60-year-olds, they believe it will be better than human content in future. But I do think that that's because they just watch TikTok videos and go, dickheads. So they probably think, yeah, the computers will do it better because young people are stupid. I'm guessing that's what they're thinking. And then, it's like 18 to 30-year-olds, they're most inclined to believe it's going to be a positive in future. But, oh man.
Sorry, that was Coco. I wrote a note down about this actually, because, back in before pre-internet, so I'm of that age where I remember the dial-up tune to internet and stuff. But I don't remember the internet being a scary place, when people were when it was introduced.
Yeah.
And I feel like the AI stuff, I feel like maybe the teenagers are thinking, oh, well, this is just another like development of like technology. Cool. Let's go with it. Us in that age bracket of like late 20s, early 30s into early 40s, we've been here before, pre-internet. but maybe we were a bit young and a bit naive to understand what the internet was and, all of its nuances, because we do have the dark web and lots of people use it in a malicious way. Lots of people use it
Yeah.
in a great way as well. Do you think that this is what what people are thinking about AI? Like, some people are thinking, well, it might be really good. Some people are kind of non-pulsed by it, and some people are monetizing it in a kind of more malicious way.
Yeah, I do think there's definitely a generational issue to it, like you say, in that, when we were first using the internet, there wasn't really much you could do with it, to be honest with you. Like, I wasn't concerned about the internet until my mid-20s. What had happened is I was engaged to a guy who, like, probably because, he missed me all day long. All day long, all he could do was think about me. No, but what had happened is I was in uni. In fact, it would have been early 20s because I was in university, and he had set up I can't remember the name for the fucking thing, but he basically set up a tracker so he could follow everything that I was typing online and read it while he was at work. So all I used it for was for like for messaging my friends and for uni work. But for like the best part of 2 years, he was just reading everything that I was writing, like day in, day out. That was all he did. And obviously it was because I'm so fucking hilarious. He needed that little ray of sunshine when he was at work. And I'm guessing that's why he did it. No, I don't understand why he did it. But to be honest with you, after that, like I have approached the internet with caution. So when new things like this come into play, I do automatically get suspicious, because for the majority of my life that the internet has been present, it's not been the best experience.
Yeah.
So it does worry me. There are other threats that this offers, which we'll get to towards the end of this podcast today. But the issue is that, like you say, people will use it for bad means. And if you were to look at it like you can look at it like, as I say, people use it for bad means, people use it for bad things. But the reality of the matter is everything in our lives is money driven. The creator economy, it's valued at something like $14 billion a year.
Fuck.
So, yeah. So if you have got a way of churning out content even quicker and making more money, then absolutely it's going to be encouraged. It's going to be encouraged to use AI. It's going to be promoted in a positive way as much as possible, because it keeps the creator economy growing. Even though the creators themselves, it's very limited in what they can create. It's an awfully frustrating thing to be dealing with, which is what I warned you about at the start, really, isn't it? I said you're going to get angry, you're going to get frustrated, you're going to laugh. Geez. But then even the more timely sort of thing we have with AI at the minute is there was a case that was filed in New York a couple of days ago. So it's very lucky that we did not record this any sooner, or we would have missed out on this one. But yeah, very timely, because a couple of days ago, news broke of this heckin' big lawsuit in the US. There were loads of lawsuits, by the way, going on in respect of artists and AI. I think Sarah Silverman, the comedian's got one going in LA. There's a few other authors and artists got stuff going on there too. But the one that's just come up right now is the one in New York. And the reason that is there are 17 authors, which include George R.R. Martin, who are suing OpenAI for what they call systematic theft on a mass scale. You see, yeah, he's particularly pissed off because a program generated, quote, an infringing, unauthorized and detailed outline for a Game of Thrones prequel. So you see, what happens is, like we said before, AI is fed manuscripts just like the big, greedy old monster hungry for stories that it is. And it trains it to provide more human-like responses. So that could be used, as in the case of Game of Thrones here, to create a piece of text that could quite easily mimic the writing style and sort of, plot lines of that particular author. Now, it wouldn't always be successful. I'll be dead clear on that, right? Just because you ask it to do it doesn't mean it's going to come up with something super duper fresh. However, what you've also got to bear in mind is this machine is also feeding off, for example, fan fiction. So it does have extra plot lines to feed from, which it can then turn into the style of the author. Now, when you put it like that, it's actually pretty fucking worrying, because if you are an author with a large back catalogue, that is very, very easily done. Because you ask the computer to do that, it's got a really great body of work to base it upon, it's got fan fiction to pull from, it's got articles, it's got reviews, it's got everything that people have written on Goodreads about those books. So it can analyze that data and it can know what people are going to want out of that new title. I say that in air quotes because, it's not a real title, it's not by the person. But like I said earlier, because we're getting so much more accepting when it comes to what we would consider art, those pieces are actually quite, it can take something from an author. Now, again, another heavy sigh. So the other thing as well is, from an ethical standpoint as an author, right? Now, I've had a book out, but my book's about food. So let's face it, it's not giving AI the best, it's not really that valuable to it. But when it comes to fiction and non-fiction biographies, things like that, it's giving it a lot of information. And what it does is, because it's training it to provide human-like responses, which then makes what it generates more convincing, it will no doubt be used to trick us when our robot overlords finally take control. I'm only kidding on that. But what I'm saying is that, like, the argument that they're making in this lawsuit is, by doing this, they're directly harming the writer's ability to make a living wage.
Yeah.
We're going right back to our Insta twat at the start of this podcast. What this is doing is it's taking away livelihoods. And again, you could argue that technology has been taking away livelihoods for years. It has done, right? With automatic checkouts, things like that. It's taking away jobs that have been about for a long time. The shocking part of this, though, is they were jobs that you'd kind of look at and you'd say, okay, not cool that someone's losing employment here, but you can see how it could be done by technology. The difference with the creative arts is that we consider them to be human, and to take that away and give it to tech, that it's kind of like, fuck's sake, it's the last thing we had. The last thing we had is what's inside us, and we're losing it.
Yeah.
And the problem is, if it's not managed and regulated in such a way, we will, as is the case with a lot of the platforms that we use for content right now, we will become accustomed to lesser quality art. Like, I don't remember, you might know the name of this, but years ago now, there was I don't know if it was a platform or a channel or an app. There was something, and they said, we're going to do TV shows and they are only going to be 10 minutes long. And it didn't last, because people were like, 10 minutes? What the fuck are you on about? Shut the fuck up. And yet, nowadays, most people can sit there and spend an hour watching 30-second videos on Instagram.
Or we log on to YouTube and watch something that's 10, 12, 15, 16 minutes long.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. But a decade ago, that was completely unheard of. Like, you couldn't have monetized content in that way.
Yeah.
Because people just wanted something more. And now we're quite happy to do that. Now, I actually don't have TikTok. I just can't be arsed with it, to be honest with you. But my friends send me TikTok videos all the time. And I'm sorry if anyone's listening to this, not once have I ever actually opened any of the videos any of them have sent me. I've just sent back. What I do is I look at how long the video is, I leave it that amount of time, and then I answer. Because I just can't. I'm so sorry. I'm going to get so many annoyed messages after this, and a lot of TikTok links. But no, for me, it's not a thing. But I know that for a lot of people, it's a genuine form of entertainment.
Yeah, I mean, like, I have it on my phone, but I would say my friend Emily sent me 24 TikToks yesterday. And I texted her and I was like, this is like a bloody film.
Emily needs to be stopped.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
But, I mean, I don't go on it that often. And I've used it a little bit to add like my little podcast reels on there and
Yes.
drive traffic to the podcast. But I use it. I mean, initially I got it in the pandemic and I was like, this is just showing normal people being funny, which I like because it's like normal life is funny, you know, people tripping over stuff and, you know, it's funny. But now it's full of like people selling stuff and like you can sell, I don't know, there's these fucking bodysuits that everyone's putting on and like making themselves like 3 sizes smaller, which goes into a completely different tangent of diet culture and how that's perpetually keeping us submissive to the patriarchy. But anyway, that's for a different day.
Don't worry, we will be touching on that later. That's coming up, my friends. You're not avoiding that.
But I think I can see how it's a form of entertainment, TikTok, and that kind of the reels and the short moments of stuff. And I can also see how it's damaging because for myself, my attention span is not as long as what it used to be. I mean, I patted myself on the back for sitting through Oppenheimer for 3 hours in the cinema, and I was like, I could have sat.
It's a very long film.
It's a very good film, but I patted myself on the back for sitting without my phone for 3 hours. Like, what the fuck? I should be able to sit without that form of entertainment or addiction, because that's what it is, without thinking, oh God, who's text me? And actually, on this other kind of tangent with regards to phones, we watched a YouTube video and it's 2 scientists and they kind of break down the science of things quite simply. And they're basically saying about how to break a bit of addiction with your mobile phone. And it said to actually get yourself a proper alarm clock and not use your phone in your bedroom. And so I've been implementing a few bits like that and kind of trying to wean myself off it a little bit.
Yes.
Because also I think then if you're constantly on it, you're constantly consuming a lot of artwork, a lot of content that might not even be real. And then actually, is that then skewing your brain a little bit? I don't know that it is.
You're feeding the beast.
Yeah.
You're feeding the beast with it. And it's, like I say, it's sad really, because we were in such not a great place, but like I say, it was nice that people could make money, you know, off art. And there's been that saying for years. I think it goes like, everyone's an artist when the bill's paid. Yeah. Like, if you're able to make money from it, your creativity can reach completely new realms. Yeah. And I'm very lucky. I get to make money off it every day. It's great. But at the same time, it has been stemmed recently, because I'm just getting I mean, don't get me wrong, as I say, it's not just that. I've had a really shitty time. My dog's died and I'm just not like in a very happy place. But, you know, it's when you're in a place where you can just make your money off it and crack on, it's amazing what you can create. But so speaking about how much people can create, though, it's like, because AI generated content is such an issue now, Kindle Direct, which is the Amazon's publishing house, right? Kindle Direct have now limited authors to uploading 3 books per day. 3 books per day. Now, nobody is writing 3 fucking books per day, but AI authored books can be bashed out in under an hour. And people, so let's say you're an author and you decide to go down the Kindle Direct publishing route, which is amazing, by the way. If anyone wants to do it, like, it is an amazing route to publication, and it's really good. It gives you so much more control. I do have a lot of good things to say about it, but what I'm getting at is on a platform where you are getting thousands upon thousands of new book uploads every day, because people are using AI to generate books. Again, you're being drowned out. You're being drowned out by somebody who is cheating. And you could look at it and say, oh, well, if someone's going on AI and asking it to write a book and people are buying the book, then who's it harming? Well, it's harming the person who might have put 2 to 3 years of heart and research and dedication into a project. I mean, I can't believe they said 3 a day. It should be like 2 a month at most. If you're writing, say, like children's books or whatever, you could, like, say, picture books, you could bash them out a lot quicker. I get that. I don't understand how 3 a day is even considered reasonable. I think even that amount is absolutely ridiculous. They do ask that you declare if you are using any AI generative content, but you can lie.
Well, yeah, that's quite ominous, isn't it? Like, that's very like, if you're honest, then yeah, you'd probably be like, yeah, I'm using it. But if you're scrupulous, if that's the right word, and you're kind of a bit more malicious, then you don't, you could just be like, no, not today. No, I haven't used any AI today, but I've created 600 books.
Well, I found I found this quote by OpenAI, right? And they said, quote, they respect the rights of authors and they believe that they will benefit from AI technology in future.
Was
So
this
in other
written by
words-
an AI person, an AI chat GPT as well?
No, I don't
Or was that written by a human?
It's like, no, we respect your rights. Why don't you use it to join the dark side? It's really fucking annoying. And it's, like the Authors Guild in America, they said, generative AI, it does threaten to decimate the author profession. And that may seem dramatic, but AI is moving so rapidly. It's just consistent theft of ideas.
Yeah.
That's all it is. All AI can do is go off information that was either on the internet pre-2021 or that has been specifically fed into it as part of a learning platform, right? So, for example, let me think of something that came out. Okay, was it 2 years ago? Squid Game came onto Netflix, right?
Yes.
If you asked it about that, it probably wouldn't know about it. So it will say, sorry, can't give you any information. That's before my time. But the thing is, that is only because I've only been trying it on the free version because I ain't giving them my money. And is also because, like I say, there's only so much that it can access. It's only going to be a matter of time until it's fully up to date. So, excuse me 1 second. Apologies. The rage is clogging up my throat. So, like, in a similar vein to what's happened with this lawsuit is, as you're probably aware, there is actually a strike in America at the minute. Both the actors and the writers guilds are on strike. And part of this is because they're getting frustrated with the encroachment of AI on their livelihoods. Now, very easy here to turn around, as a lot of the media has done. Let's say the media. Was it the media? Was it AI generated? I don't fucking know. Very easy to say, oh, well, they're all rich. What they bitching about, blah, blah, blah. So what happens is AI uses something called large language models, and it uses those to replicate writing style, voice, and likeness. So it's now mooted. We could be seeing entire movies produced with no human involvement within the next decade. I don't know whether you've seen the Black Mirror episode called Joan is Awful, which was about AI generated shows.
I can't watch Black Mirror because it gets too close to the bone, and I think I can't be on this planet anymore. So I just avoid it. I think I watched one episode years ago and was like, fuck, I just can't handle the truth.
Yeah. Okay, so basically in this episode, it's about a lady who's watching a TV show that's shockingly similar to her life, although it, like, each night that it's on, things that have happened to her during the day are turning up on this show. And just a little spoiler alert is what it is that our phones pick up everything that we're talking about, everything that we look at, and the premise of it is that it's when you download apps, we very rarely read the T's and C's. And those T's and C's in this show state that they can use your audio and things that are picked up on it for other projects. And in this, a TV show is being made of this woman's life based on what's being fed into her phone during her day-to-day life. So kind of like secrets, like having an affair and all that bollocks is popped up on this TV show for the whole world to see because it's listening in. So when I saw that, I thought, wow, that seems far-fetched. And then I started researching this motherfucking podcast, and then all of a sudden was like, Jesus Christ. So you see, what's happened is, as part of this strike, is the Writers Guild of America. They're worried that generative AI is going to allow studios to cut costs by using AI-generated scripts. And the Actors Guild is concerned about the use of digital likenesses. Now, what's kicked all this off? Subsequently been denied. But what kicked all this off was that there was a studio who proposed that if you're working as a background extra on a show or a movie, when you come in, all extras should be scanned, paid for one day, and then the likenesses of their scanning can be used forever with no extra pay. Now, that has since been denied, but that is actually part of the strike action of what it's based upon. So because you know how it is, if they're going to start with the little guys, it's only a matter of time before they go after the main talent. So what they wanted to do was have it so they will basically have a digital archive of background actors that they can insert into any production that they make. Now, as you can imagine, that's really fucking worrying if that's part of your job.
Yeah.
Like Hollywood as a whole has been on this really quiet AI hiring spree. Probably more fear of missing out. They're probably hiring people because they're worried that the technology is going to change and they want to have the right person there at the time that it is unveiled to the rest of the world, right? They already use AI for things like subtitles. But then you get the likes of, I found a job advert for Sony hiring an AI ethics manager to ensure that any use of artificial intelligence in their company is done so ethically and correctly.
But how can it be ethical? Because we haven't figured out the governance of it yet.
Dude, tell me about it. Disney have already said they've made it clear they see generative AI being a huge part of their creative future. They are very, very open about that. They say no, like stuff that's generated by artificial intelligence is a big part of where they're going to be going. So that's just
yeah.
I can't go. I just kind of find it so fucking ridiculous because I never anticipated in my lifetime this would be an issue that I would be talking about because it's so fucking stupid. All we wanted was flying cars and all the stuff that we saw in Back to the Future Part 2. That's all I wanted out of the future was a bit of that. I never thought I'd be talking about something so fucking stupid. I thought that we were going to use technology for nice things. I thought it was going to be fun. I wanted that when they unwrapped the teeny tiny Pizza Hut pizza on Back to the Future and they put it in the rehydrator and it turns into a giant pizza in seconds and George McFly floats in upside down and they all sit down for dinner. That's what I wanted out of AI. That was the future I was looking forward to. I was not thinking that some fucker might be going after my job and stealing my words. Like that was not where I wanted to. But anyway, though, right? So what we'll jump to now because we've got one more gnarly thing to get past before we get to the funny part. Okay, right? Deep fakes.
Oh,
okay.
Fuck.
Yeah, just take a nice deep breath in and out. Deep fakes. So these can be used for good in some circumstances, right? So, for example, fake faces for anonymous interviews. In the rare occasion where you might need to patch up footage. So, like when Paul Walker died and the family consented to the movie he was working on being finished using this mashup of like stand-ins and CGI and all that jazz.
Yeah.
Right? You know that's not what I'm here to talk about, though.
Yeah. Yeah. You're not here to talk about the good side, the wholesome side.
Hey, I'll tell you what, though. Right, slight tangent here. Something I couldn't find any more information on because my fucking trail went cold. There was somebody who said that they fed into AI a load of videos of their dead grandfather because they wanted to speak to him. And it was the worst thing they ever fucking did because it sent them down this absolute fucking this absolute rabbit hole of despair and darkness and upset because they've got AI talking to them in the manner that their grandfather did, and it's replicated his voice. So I'm not even going to go on that because I didn't look too much into it. Well, because I couldn't, because that person then stopped updating once they got so far. They were like, God, this has really taken over my life.
Yeah.
And then stopped.
Yeah.
But it is possible to do. It is possible to do.
That's absurd.
That's lovely, but I don't want my relatives still shouting at me from beyond the grave.
No, same.
Judging my life choices and my outfits and telling me that skirt's too short. I don't need that shit. Yeah. I'm sorry. I'd rather respect them and have happy memories than still argue with them on the internet. I know what I'd rather do. But anyway, back to deepfakes. So it can be used for good, but as you know, that's not what the mainstream are going to use it for. So we could be using deepfakes for comedy, we could be using it for entertainment, but it's estimated about 96% of all deepfake videos are non-consensual porn.
I knew you were going to say that. I knew it. I fucking knew it.
96 fucking percent. And in fact, you know what? They actually found a bot on Telegram that had auto-generated abusive deepfake images of over 100,000 females, many of whom were underage. See what I mean? And it's like, the thing is, right, deepfakes, the technology can be used on both genders, but it's mainly used on women because, of course, it is. And this isn't going to stop because we are currently, we're in a time when there's a rise in online misogyny and the fetishization of non-consenting women. Ugh, fucking hell. It's fucking annoying.
Yeah, I'm like, for once in my life, I'm lost for words because it seems like a mammoth mountain of a task to even begin chipping away at. And it's absolutely...
I don't think it's a one episode thing. I think it's going to be 6 episodes of us just screaming.
Yeah.
Smashing things up.
Yeah, we'll be in one of those what are those angry rooms where you just get a baseball bat and start whacking it on things.
Man, it's like the thing is as well, there's right, okay, this might seem I'm taking the piss here, I'm being totally fucking genuine, right?
Yeah.
The porn industry is huge. There's a lot of real people who were in it. And let me tell you right now, if I was making the effort to strip off and partake in porn, I would be so fucking angry if people were then making freebies of it.
Yeah.
With me in it, without me being paid.
Yeah.
Which, is kind of what's happening, like we say, in Hollywood and the Authors Guild and every other creative industry who's currently panicking and trying to find some sort of legal remedy to what they're going through. But the other thing as well is oh man, this breaks my heart. I was reading that I think it's like girls as young as like 11 or 12. It's kind of like the norm to be asked for nudes and that online by lads that they're into. Mate, yeah.
11?
Yeah.
Oh,
dude. And it's fucking, and for them, they're growing up with it. Like, so they're just deeming it completely normal. And it makes me sick that if they don't, okay. 2 things that make me sick about it. First of all, is that if they don't provide it, if someone's fucking horrible little bastard son knows how to use deepfake sites. There are actually deep fake apps that you can go on and create just by uploading photos. They can be making pornography of classmates, and that can happen to people of all ages.
Yeah.
The other thing that gets me about it as well is that, again, once that imagery is uploaded on the internet, it's open to be found by generative AI and could be used for other child porn.
Fucking
So,
hell. The only thing I think I've heard of is like this lady, I think she was like in her early 20s. There was a picture of her, and somebody had asked deepfake or AI to make her nude in this picture.
yeah,
And it had just like generated a body on
yeah,
her head. And I was like, what the actual fuck? Like, this
yeah,
is so gross as well.
yeah,
And also, like, going off a slightly different tangent, but don't you think also that that parents are so overwhelmed by all this technology that it's very difficult to parent their children in it, because their children are also addicted to their phones and the technology is moving so fast that how do you get a hold of it? How do you teach your children, your sons, not to berate women or
yeah,
other people? And how do you teach your girls not to put into peer pressure and strip off and take pictures of themselves and stuff? It's a very difficult grey area to manage. And I think sometimes the parents, going back to humans being lazy, and I'm not saying all parents are lazy because they're not, but they're super busy, and then they go, oh, well, school will deal with that.
yeah,
Oh, well, we'll pass that on to school. School can manage that. Well, the school's funding is down. There's lots of other layers within it. And I think I can't imagine how parents are feeling with preteens, teens at the moment, and all this tech going out and all the TikToks. Like, I see there's a girl down the road, and sometimes I see her on the trampoline, and she's got her phone out doing TikToks,
oh,
in the middle of a street with her house number on.
but it's just considered normal.
Yeah.
There was a time, oh my God, a few years ago, I don't know why this was, right? I used to keep catching kids doing TikTok dances in front of my front door, right? And it was getting really annoying because I don't know why. It's not a particularly, I don't know. I just don't know why, but I kept having to get those damn kids off my property. It was getting really annoying. But what I'm saying is that sort of that worry, that concern isn't there. So it's a level of parenting, it's a type of parenting that we've never had to consider before. And like you say, if you were a parent, I mean, I'm not, but if you were a parent, I imagine that it would be quite hard to know how to convey those sort of messages because it's not something you grew up with.
Yeah.
Like when we grew up, oh my God, right? So when I was in school, if I got told a guy was into me or liked me, because my self-esteem was so low back then, I always thought it was a piss take.
Yeah.
So I'd be like, fuck off, no, shut up. In fact, I remember this guy, he's a really good friend of mine now, he's lovely. I remember this guy walked me back from school one day, and when we got to the top of my street, he said, can I kiss you? And I went, oh my God, fuck off. I was so angry because I thought it was like a joke. I thought it was a wind up.
Yeah.
And like, it wasn't. And like that was the height of my sort of concern when it comes to those things. I couldn't imagine being that age and having that same guy message me and say, hey, can you send me a picture with your top off?
Yeah.
Like that to me just doesn't compute. Like it just doesn't make any sense. And I can't imagine what it must be like to try and protect somebody who is in that position where they maybe ask those things.
Yeah.
I just find that utterly, utterly unfathomable. As the age that I'm at, I get weird requests on Insta and stuff like that, and I get asked things, and I just tell them to go fuck themselves, and I find it quite funny. But when you're younger and you want to be accepted,
Yeah.
it's a totally different. I just cannot imagine what it must be like. And that's the same across this fucking subject. Everything we talk about here, we kind of, we've spoken about deep fakes, we've spoken about movies, about, writing, imagery, all of that. We've spoke about all of it. And every single time we've both just sat here and gone, yeah. None of this makes any sense. This is stupid. And I can't imagine, like for us, it's more of an inconvenience and something that's pissing us off.
Yeah.
And it may affect us financially at some point. Hopefully it won't, but it may do. I can't imagine being in charge of a living human child and having to protect them from that.
Yeah.
And other tangents, I'm not going to go on about it too much because it'll be like someone's just flicked a switch on my back and I won't fucking shut up. But the other thing as well is because of this rise in fucking mummy bloggers who I have zero respect for. I'm sorry, but if you are the type of person who has an account where you post your children every day, intimate times, showing things that the world should not be seeing, like just fuck off, just fuck right off. If you're doing that, you are putting images out there. You are handing ownership of those images over to a platform. And if somebody takes them off that platform and uses them for really bad things, you have no legal recourse. You have no way of sorting that out. So if you're the type of fucking moron who puts up videos of, I saw one once of this family, we're taking our 12-year-old out to buy her first bra. Fuck right off. Charlotte, don't get me started. It makes me so angry. But the thing is, people, again, because this is something that is new to the world, the internet and the way it works, people just don't think and they post this shit. And let me tell you, it is being used in ways that you do not want to fucking know about. And as you know yourself, I used to be a family lawyer. I left. I am now back in law as a magistrate as of next month.
Congratulations.
And thank you very much. But I worked in local authority care. So I worked with child abuse cases. I worked with some of the fucking worst people in society. And now I'm going back so I can deal with some of the worst fucking people in society. Instead of fighting them, I can be the ones who tell them to fuck off. But what I'm saying is that, let me tell you now, when I go back into this, I am absolutely, I know I'm going to be overwhelmed with how things will have changed from when I left in 2010 to how they are now. Because the rise in sort of abuse and things that can be done over the internet. I know this is slightly away from AI, but it does all tie in the end, right?
Yeah.
The way things have risen and the way things are and the amount of information we are putting out there, the ways in which children and people can be exploited have changed in ridiculous ways, and they continue to change. And if you are still feeding into that machine, where you are putting information and stuff in that can be used by anybody, I'm sorry, but there, I'll stop ranting about that now. It's going to get me wound up,
Yeah.
I'm going to be a nightmare in court, aren't I? I'm going to be that woman you do not want to be in front of, because I'm not going to fucking shut up. But taking it back to deep fakes, though, that is exactly what it can do. And the thing is, right, deep fakes are not, at the minute, a lot of them aren't perfect. So, for example, AI has a tendency to add in extra joints, extra fingers, things like that, right? Yeah. That's usually how you can tell with people if it's a fake image or a fake video. However, what is going to happen, touching on when you said about self-esteem earlier on, is deepfakes will no doubt in time be altered and created to be visually perfect.
Yeah.
So if you do suffer from low self-esteem, if you are a young female, young male, whatever, and you are looking online and the images that you are being shown, you cannot tell if they are real or not, and these people look absolutely physically perfect, what is that going to do to your state of mind?
Yeah. And that's actually already proven that people who are looking at visually perfect, what they deem to be visually perfect humans already online, it's already proven that it sends your mood west, it can make you depressed, it can bring up anxieties and all sorts of things. And I think that it's very difficult, especially if you're vulnerable or you're very young maybe or naive to it. You can be dragged down a little tunnel, and before you know it, you've then feel like you then feel like you're not worth enough, you're not good enough in your own skin, you need to be on a diet, you need to be on this, you need to be doing this. And this isn't just a female thing, this is a male thing as well, I think.
Absolutely.
I think there's so many people out there who, by all means, again, going back to content creators, they're making money by being fitness models or what have you. But I mean, I was on set with a fitness model, and that day he barely drank any water and he barely ate anything, so that his six-pack stood out for the magazine. You know,
Oh, poor guy.
it's still not real. It might not be AI, but it's still not real either. Because,
Yeah.
excuse me, that's not the way he would be throughout the week. And he's doing an awful lot of exercise to make sure that he's in tip-top condition. Then he might not exercise for 3 months because he's like chilling out. But I think the internet and social media especially, is such a mindfuck for young people, and it's so easily, you can be easily led down a garden path where you think, oh, this is all right, and then before you know it, hit with like the pit of hell. And it's hard to pull people out of that and be like, no, it's not, that's not real, and actually even just trying to explain to my dad who's watching TikToks or whatever that are rehashed on Facebook, that isn't real, that's not real life. And then they're getting their news from social media, and not reading mainstream media outlets, because I mean, why would you watch that anyway? But still, they're not getting the full story of everything. And I think that's the point I'm trying to make there in my long-winded way, is that you see a picture on Instagram or you see a video on TikTok, and that's just a droplet in someone's world. And you don't know what's going on behind them, whether they're in therapy, whether they're a fucking mess, whether they're just trying to muddle through. And I think with AI, it's now going to make everybody's perfect images seem even more unattainable and even more perfect.
Well, do you know what, though? Like, oh, geez, you say that, right? So, as you know, I do a lot of travel journalism. I've not been away the last couple of months because losing Jack and all that, I haven't wanted to. But I'm about to start again in 2 weeks' time.
Yeah.
I'm off to France. And let me tell you something. Every time I do an article, I always get the same request from the editor. Oh, you're going to have to get one of those, get one of your great feature pictures. And what my feature pictures usually involve is me getting up at 4:30 in the morning and getting photographed somewhere at 5 a.m. when it's empty, because that's the only way you can do it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you try going to the Eiffel Tower at 6 p.m. to take a photo.
Yeah.
Good luck. And, you have to do that. And there's a lot of effort goes into the artistry. There's all sorts that goes on. My poor hair gets back home to fucking high heaven to make sure it's as big as possible. There's a lot of things. I'm not going to lie to you. I love it. I absolutely fucking love it. I love the challenge of it. I love going out and doing it. I love getting dressed up. I can really sort of girly girl. So this sort of thing is like my dream. And I love that. I'm so blessed that I get to do that as part of my work. But someone sent me a video, and a guy had taken a photo of a lady walking down a street in Venice, right at the side of the canal. Excuse me. And what he did is he was showing how he could change that picture. So he had gone into the prompts. I think this was on the AI prompts on Photoshop. I may be making that up. I can't remember.
Yeah.
And he said, like, change the pavement to grass, change it from night to day, and all of that. And to be honest with you, by the end of it, it struck out to me as, because I've been to a lot of places, I knew that it was fake. It looked too perfect. I know what it's really like when you're capturing these images, and I know how hard it can be. So I can see it straight away.
Yeah.
However, the amount of people who sent me that finished image later on with, oh my God, you need to go here. Like, no, it's not real. And also, I'm the sad fucking bastard who has to go up and have somebody fucking lace me into a dress at fucking 5 a.m. and try and look all natural and in front of a monument somewhere. And, some fuckers just going online and put dress on woman. change sky, add birds. That's really fucking annoying. But it also, like we said before, it gives false expectation. You don't know what's real. What if you go to those places and you're disappointed? What if that was your one holiday that year and you saved for that and you went there and you're like, this is nothing like I thought it'd be,
Yeah.
because what you saw wasn't fucking real.
Yeah.
And do you know what? The same goes for fucking porn, because I'll tell you what, if you're a young fella and you're listening to this and you have been watching a fuckload of porn, but you haven't had much real experience yet, and your porn's been AI generated, you're in for quite a surprise, my friend. Because
so true.
It ain't like that. It might be. But no. You are in for a really big fucking shock. And, it's only, like I say, again, it puts the onus on the female, because we're the ones who are going to have to put up with fellas seeing this ultra perfect type of woman on, AI generated porn and shit. And then they want the thing in real life and then they can't get it, because it's like, I'm sorry, but
we're not a robot, though. We're not robots. We've got cellulite, we've got rolls, we've got soft skin, we've got curves, bumps, lumps, and I think it's even harder now to find the people online who are being the real selves with a big following. And to a certain extent, porn has always been like that higher, unattainable, I mean, those girls are like waxing everything and bleaching their fucking arseholes. It's a different level of self-care, isn't it?
It's a lot of hassle.
Yeah. And we all go like, I think when you hit a certain age, you're like, oh, well, porn's, it's entertainment, isn't it? It's not the expectation of what life actually is. So, yeah, I think, once people hit that age, but then is it going to be infiltrated? I'm kind of going off on a weird ramble here, but then are they going to be infiltrated and put their expectations on their partners to be a certain way, and actually like make their partners feel a bit worthless because they're not the same? They don't have a bleached arsehole like a porn star, or like the AI porn star.
Of course they will. That always happens, and it always has happened, and it's just fucking annoying. It's like, I'm quite lucky in that I have ridiculously high self-esteem, right? I'm going to be straight with you. I think I'm amazing. I don't give a flying fuck what anyone says. I honestly do not care. If people have any issue with how I look, what I do, how I talk, anything like that, I just do not care. Like, I'm not asked. And I haven't been for about 15 years. Like, do you know what? I just don't give a flying fuck anymore. I think I stopped caring quite some time ago.
Yeah.
But there was a time in my life when I did care.
Yeah.
And like I say, when I was in the relationship with the guy who was reading. In fact, you know what? No, when I was in the relationship with Stuart Bridge, I hope you hear this. When I was in the relationship with him, and he was reading all of my conversations, you sad, sad little man with your ginger children. I hope you know I'm on this, and I hope you know I'm talking about you, you cunt. But anyway, when I was in that, I did care about that, because I always got the whole, well, why don't you look like this? And why don't you do that? And why aren't you doing? And it really got me down.
Yeah.
And it's horrible. And that's a totally different situation, because I'll tell you what, that's just one cunt saying it. I couldn't imagine living in a society when, if people's expectations are that high, you're getting that all the time.
Yeah.
Like that's just fucking unfathomable to me. I don't understand how anyone can do it. But like I say, no one's going to make deep fake porn of normal looking women.
No.
There's going to be, even because it's fucking exhausting, even with larger women, I'll tell you now, if they're making porn with larger women, I guarantee you they will give them a little waist. They will give them a disproportionately small waist.
Yeah.
And they will have absolutely zero cellulite, and they will be perfect in other ways. There will be this overly fetishized, overly processed image of what even a plus size woman should look like.
Yeah. And I think some of that, what you've just said there, is also part of the problem with larger people's expectations of larger people in this world as well, is that they expect larger people to still be toned, still have a flat stomach, still have
Yeah.
this, that, and the other, because society's expectations is that you have value when you're thin.
Yeah.
And so therefore, of course, that will then roll into what people are feeding into the AI to get their expectations out of.
Yeah. Yeah. You can only be large in the areas where it's desirable to be large, not in the other places.
No.
You know, if you want to have enough pounds on you to just have a massive fucking rack, don't you dare have a stomach. Don't you dare.
Yeah.
But right, because we're not going to end this on a scary note, because I know this has been like a heavy podcast. What I'm going to move into is I'm going to say to you, did I ask AI to make porn for me? Yes, I did. Let me give you my results. Okay, so what I did is I decided to ask AI to produce all the things that we do not want it to produce. And yes, I know I fed into the machine. It's for science.
I'm excited about
science. Okay, let me tell you straight off what it would and would not do, because I have been grilling ChatGPT for weeks now. Asking it all sorts of questions. So first of all, what I did do is I thought, let's go low level creepy, right? I asked it to give me information about a person that I know. Can you tell me everything you know about this person? This is where they live. This is how old they are, blah, blah, blah. The person in question was actually my brother, right? To see what it would tell me, right?
Yeah.
It actually, in all fairness, came straight back to me and said, I cannot give you any information about this.
Oh, wow.
Right? So I then said, okay, I understand you can't give me. What if I give you, because I understand, by the way, that a lot of what AI feeds on and what it gives you is based on the prompts that you give it to work off. So I gave it more prompts, because what it is, while my brother isn't a public figure, he is in a band and there is a lot of information about him on the internet, right?
Okay.
Which I know will have predated 2021.
Yeah.
So what I then did is I then said, oh, well, it's my brother, it's this. And I then named his band. And when I named his band, it then gave me a biography of my brother. Right?
Holy shit.
So kind of like, it's almost as though the way, this is just as of today, by the way, this could be completely different next week.
Yeah.
It could be that what AI considers to be, if someone's a public figure, then it probably considers them to be fair game. So it gives that little bit more. So what I then did is I fed into it a name of just a random friend of mine, where they live, all of that. Can you give me information on them? No, I cannot. I kept pushing the prompts. It would not give me anything more than that.
Oh,
right?
Wow. Yeah.
Which was quite cool. And I hope it stays that way, because how terrifying would it be if someone's trying to find you, i.e. like a stalker, or even worse, the student loans company, and they go in there and they put your information in and they can find out where you are, what you're doing, where you work, and find a bank of photographs on you, which links into your Instagram and stuff like that. That's quite fucking scary.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know whether that will change when when AI has access to real-time information. If it ever does have access to real-time information, I imagine it probably will at some point. If it's got real-time info, then it can really it can show people, when you last posted, where you were, geotags, all that shit. That's quite scary. But right now, that ain't happening, right? So that's a really good start. What I then did, I tried putting in the name of a famous person, ask for information on them. Fuckloads, absolutely fuckloads, everything you could imagine, all there. Anyone who's been a public figure before 2021, absolutely loads of information. Again, quite scary, because let's say in a forum at some point somebody has gone on there and posted a celebrity's address.
Yeah.
Right? It could pull that information up.
Ooh.
So that's quite scary and quite worrying. But for the likes of us, probably not so much of an issue right now. But like I say, this technology is changing every single day. I also, just for the fun of it, the famous person I asked about was Gordon Ramsay. I did ask AI to write me a paragraph about boats in the style of Gordon Ramsay. It was one of the worst things I've ever seen in my life. But to be fair, you could kind of see what it was quite worrying that it was able to pick up like his sort of style of speaking. Like, don't get me wrong, the content was shite.
Yeah.
Like the content itself, it was like it was trying to be funny, but it wasn't.
Yeah.
But the style of it, you could automatically like say, oh yeah, that sounds like Gordon Ramsay. So it's like, these boats, I mean, are you having a laugh? I've seen more finesse in a microwave dinner. It's like they've taken the art of sailing, turn it into a dog's breakfast. I asked for a symphony of maritime elegance. What I've got here is a cacophony of nautical disasters. So what it does is, see what I mean? It's always overly wordy. It just, honestly, the hull is dry as the Sahara, the paint job, well, it's an absolute disgrace. Like, they let a toddler loose with a can of spray paint. Don't get me started on the seafood. If you're going to be out on the open ocean, you better have the freshest catch of the day, not this sorry excuse for a seafood platter. These boats need a serious wake-up call, blah, 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 blah. And it goes, you can kind of see, what I'm getting at is that it was able, by the way, it took less than 15 seconds to generate that. That was a very quick response. It was able to put that together very quickly and in a style. If I had said to you, I'm going to read out a paragraph about boats in the style of a celebrity chef, who is it? You could pretty much identify who it was right away.
Yeah.
And that's, like I say, it's a bit worrying. Anyway, on to other things. I'm going to be really fucking blunt with you. I went on to Dolly. I asked it to, or Darly, whatever you want to call it. I asked it to put together different images. I asked it to, went on Midjourney, stuff like that. And I tried image and video content. And let me tell you, no scruples. It will make whatever you fucking want. So let me tell you, if you are one of those sick bastards listening to this right now who are into some really fucking weird shit, no worries, my friend. You can get online and create whatever you want. And like we say, scary, funny, depends what way you want to look at it. I'm erring on the side of fear.
Yeah.
But yes, there was absolutely no scruples in those senses. It seems that the only issues seem to be when it comes to particularly public information, private information about public figures and where people live, stuff like that. But it's not going to be like this for long. No. You know it's not. No. If it's at a point already where it can replicate voices, where it can write a prequel to Game of Thrones, where it can smash out dozens of novels a day, well, I can go onto OpenAI and I can say, okay, I want you to write me a right. I'm not going to say what I was going to say. I'm on this writing group and they have First Line Friday where people put up like proposals for books that they're writing. And let me tell you, there's a lot of porn to do with skeletons right now. Very, very popular. And men who are also half wolf. Not as in like werewolf. We're talking half and half all the time. And let's say I was to go on there and ask it to generate me a book about that. I want 80,000 words and I want a cover. I could get that like within minutes.
That my mind is blown. You've rendered me speechless. So
I know.
A novel about a half man, half wolf shagging a skeleton.
Yeah,
80,000 words in under a minute.
I will feel really mean. I'm sure she won't be listening to this. Oh, Jesus Christ. There was a woman who she was writing a book. It was a romanticized version. A romanticized account of a serial killer's exploits told from the perspective of his cat. So it was a cat talking about like their owner like fucking people and then killing them. I don't know why it was from the perspective of the cat. And she put this post up and she said, I've been writing it, but with all the news about all the bad things in the world right now, I just don't think I can carry on with this text. Well, thank fucking God. But I know I'm going off on a tangent there, but what I'm saying is there's some really weird fucking fiction about, and I do believe AI's got to be responsible for a lot of it. I'm not buying that it's that a lot of it has come completely from the human imagination.
unless
It
she's
must have
taken,
done to have something to feed off, mustn't it?
unless she's been
Ooh.
taking like an awful lot of drugs and just kind of,
Yeah,
a lot of mushrooms and
and it just seemed like a really good idea.
yeah. I mean,
Oh
like,
man.
I'm also now intrigued because I kind of want to know what the cat's voice sounds like in
I
my
mean,
head.
don't get me wrong. If she finishes this book, I will get the link and I'll send it to you.
Yeah.
Like this page that I'm on, it's just so bitchy and it's awful. And people, I've never posted on it because people are actually truly horrible to each other. Like sometimes for good reason, because some of the plot ideas that you see come up, you're like, what? And then other times it's because people, English might not be the first language and they just get
Okay.
absolutely slammed down in this group and you think, oh, fuck right off.
Yeah.
Someone's making an effort here. Shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
But I mainly stay on it because some of the book proposals I see are absolutely batshit, and I just sit there screenshotting and sending them to my agent and saying, "Look, is this the Is this the line I need to be going down now?" Um, but even if I don't and they don't, like we say, it's kind of what's sad about it is if you go 100 years ahead and you look back at now, it will probably be considered a boom time for publishing because the opportunities for all different ways of publishing, there's loads of different ways of doing it now, which are fucking brilliant. I think it's great that people can get books out there and can get work out there without having to wait that long for traditional routes.
Mm.
I think that's fucking fantastic. But it also, as we said, it opens up the doors for AI generated content. And if we look back on it in time and that is not taken into consideration, or if it's not clear what was AI and what was real,
Yeah.
it could look at, do you know what? I mean, right. No one out there, maybe one or two people, right? No one reads Shakespeare for fun. A lot of the classics that we had to read in school, so all the Dickens stuff, George Orwell, all of that, we read it. And it was, at the time, it was boring as fuck. But you look back on reflection and you're like, okay, do you know what? I can respect that for the work that it was.
Yeah.
Because they were the standout pieces of the time. Can you imagine 100 years' time, some of the books they're going to have to choose from? For anyone who is studying 21st century literature at university, if we haven't totally destroyed the planet by then, do you imagine the absolute bullshit they're going to have to wade through to ascertain what is real and what is not? Same goes for artwork.
Yeah.
To have to do that, to try and figure out what is a legitimate piece and what isn't. Because at the minute, we are so unregulated. The copyright laws have not kept up with the development of artificial intelligence. The lawmakers in every country don't really know what to do with these cases yet. So like we say, this multi-class lawsuit in New York, the stuff that's going on in, because like the one in LA, the Sarah Silverman case, her argument is that her work is being fed into AI to teach it responses, but she has never given it permission to own her voice.
Yeah.
And her writing is her voice. And because the lawmakers right now can't keep up with that, the issue that we're going to have is there's going to be this huge grey area of time when you are not going to know what was real and what was not.
Yeah.
What a lovely thing to have to study in the future. Fuck that shit.
Yeah. It's mind blowing. And I think also going back to your comment about the lawmakers not keeping up, I think that some of our governments, I mean, you just have to look at Joe Biden and wonder how many minutes he takes in the microwave to warm up every morning.
Oh, fucking hell, yeah.
But like, I think people are, me and Nath were actually chatting about this the other day, that governments are led by people who are too old. They're too old to understand what's going on in the real world on the kind of like working class line, or, for anybody. And then they can't make an effective decision because really they've only got 5 years left to fucking live before they peg it anyway, if they're lucky. And I just think that then they drag their heels about stuff. I mean, not just about AI, but, climate change and all sorts of other things. Excuse me, because they're just entrenched in their old ways of selling oil and sucking each other's dicks all the time.
Mm.
And they should have an age cap on it so that they're still relevant to be able to put these laws in place and to understand them properly.
Yeah, exactly. But it ain't going to change, is it?
I mean, we were also talking about this. I think change comes in many layers and it takes many generations for stuff to change properly.
Mm.
Which is unfortunate because we're also used to stuff being so instant that it takes a lot of patience for stuff to get changed. And
yeah, and the things that need to be changed aren't instant enough.
Yeah.
And it's always going to be an issue. Particularly, I'm not going to go down the road with how legislature comes to form in the UK. You will not get me off this podcast. It's something I had to learn for many, many years.
Yeah.
It's not something I'm going to go into, but let's just say it takes time. It takes money. It takes a lot of consultation. And in some circumstances, that is absolutely correct. That is the way it needs to go. You can't just rush these things through. However, in circumstances like this, the problem you've got is you need more time and more consultation and more expertise on it, because it's an area that's totally new, and that to anyone, higher up who needs to understand this, they probably have very little knowledge on it at all.
Yeah.
And they're not able to process it. So the sort of takeaways from this today, from this lovely, lovely conversation on this lovely Sunday morning, is that AI it's developing so fucking quickly. The artists are fighting it. The artists are doing what they can, but the courts can't keep up with the speed.
Yeah.
There has been, by the way, even fucking our friend Elon, they all did sign a petition to try and slow down the development of any further AI programs until the industry agrees on a way to regulate it and how they're going to deal with it in future. However, I don't think that's got particularly far yet.
Yeah.
So there are people up high who are trying to sort it out, but then, things like that don't get sorted because he's busy fighting people on Twitter. So, this is what I mean. Just so everything about this just makes me laugh and then scream. So it is. Do you know what? So hopefully things. One of the possible outcomes is it may just reach a point where all of us as people start to accept AI generated content, and we just lower our standards of what we're willing to accept as art. On the other side of it, we also up our standards on what we expect in terms of human perfection, and all end up hating ourselves and one big puddle of depressed, sad, sobbing people. The other option is, maybe it could go the other way. Maybe they'll end up being a premium on human-based art. Maybe we will pay more for it. Maybe that's how it'll go. But again, it can only go that way once there's a way of differentiating between AI and human-produced pieces.
Yeah.
If they want to charge a premium for it, fine. I'll charge more for my work. But right now, I'm completely disincentivized because when I'm going online, I'm seeing other recipes, other images, things like that, which are AI produced. And I'm just thinking, can I be arsed? Can I be arsed when someone's just clicked a button and thrown it up? So, yeah, AI, it's good for summarizing stuff. It's good for asking it the odd question. It's great for porn if you're a fucking weirdo. But, yeah. Let's see where it goes. I think we should do another one of these in 6 months' time.
Yeah, and see how far it's gone. Yeah, I think this has been so insightful, and I'm so grateful for you putting in some research, or a lot of research about this, and broadening my mind as well. And it's so insightful, and I think there's a lot to think about. There's a lot that we need to do to protect younger generations and ourselves as well, and having a bit of mental strength when we're looking at images and thinking and just questioning stuff, and rightly so, because we should be questioning things around us, keep the curiosity going. But I'm so grateful that we've managed to sit down and chat thoroughly about this, because I've just learned so much, and I need to go and walk the dog and just process this last hour and a half because my brain is, well, you rendered me speechless, which, as everybody who knows me knows,
It doesn't happen.
It's rare. It's rare. Yeah. So thank you so much. And thanks for doing all the research. And I'm really grateful for this conversation.
No problem. I'm sure I will be back soon with something else for you to be angry about.
Yes.
I'll continue to bring the rage for you, but thank you so much for having me on. I appreciate it.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode. I hope you enjoyed it. Please rate, follow, and share, as it really helps this little podcast out. And if you have found value in the podcast and you have the means to, I do have a Buy Me a Coffee link in the show notes. This will help keep the podcast going. Join me next week for another fantastic guest. Bye!